What responsibilities come with having sex? Are you serious, man? It's gonna be further. Am I being
I told you, you didn't choose the card. The card chooses you.
Mandate.
What's up, family? Welcome to Mandate, where we talk about men issues and nothing is off the table. We just want to welcome back our brothers who haven't seen each other for a while.
Yep.
But yeah, we just want to do a quick check-in, see how everyone is. And this session, we just got these conversation starters called Deep Speak. So these guys are going to check in, see how they've been since we last caught up. And then they're going to read their card and share what's on what's on the card and do a little bit of sharing. You got 2 minutes each. So we'll start from Bradley, because he looks...
Okay.
How you been, Brad?
Yeah, pretty good, bro. Pretty good. Yeah, it's been good. In terms of like my career and the whole producing music side of things, just sort of thrown myself in the deep end and gone out and worked with people, and so it's been pretty cool. It's been a bit uncomfortable, but in a good way, you know. I think I need to be kicked up the bum right now to progress and to go to this next tier that I'm trying to get through. So yeah, it's been a good week, bro. Good week. Nice. Time with the family and the kids, and wife's happy, so I can't complain.
Lovely.
Oh, nice.
What's on your card, mate?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. All right. What's your best, worst, or funniest party experience?
First thing that comes to your head.
I mean, there's probably a few, but yeah, worst. I remember. I mean, I was going through a period of time of just partying and stuff when my wife and I were dating early in our relationship, probably 4 months in, and I was on the booze, and me and my mates and stuff that I was studying with, we just went on like a week bender. Like it was like beginning of the week, we just went right through. Then by the end of the week, I think it must have been like Saturday or something, I woke up, I didn't know where I was, in someone's random car. I didn't know, I was somewhere in Kura in someone's driveway. And we had to like pick up the piece, sort of like hangover. Like we were picking up the piece, like what happened last night? I can't remember anything. So that was probably my lowest, and then she dumped me. Literally, by the time my phone was charged, I looked at her and she goes, "Oh, I can't do this anymore." Like, oh, bro. But this was pregnant, so too bad. But yeah, that's probably my worst party experience, man. To be honest. Yeah.
Short, bro.
Nice.
Nice.
So Jay. Am I answering that? Or?
No.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Sweet.
How's the week been, bro?
Yeah, week's been good. I've finished practicum, so I've been on practicum placement for about 6 weeks in a primary school. Man, it has been uncomfortably full on.
How's your energy levels?
Energy levels, I'm sort of like, I'm still a bit exhausted today. The knock-on effect of just, it's been, man, now that I have like a real taste of what teachers go through, my appreciation for them is magnified. So the amount of work, I just felt like I was working 7 days, like every weekend was just planning and preparation, trying to get the seal of approval from my AT. So I'm really glad that that's done. I miss the kids, but I'm happy to know that I can move forward. It's onward and upward from here. So definitely grateful for the trials and being able to come through it. So
and this is primary school, eh?
Primary school, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
A lot of
so definitely grateful to come out the other end still breathing. My card says, can you describe a really embarrassing moment you've had? Really embarrassing.
First thing.
Alright, let's go.
First thought.
First thought.
Were you in the car in Kura?
Definitely not in the car. Definitely nothing like that. Probably the most embarrassing, at least the first one that comes to mind was when I was studying almost a decade ago. I just, probably with some of the mates that Brad mentioned in his story, but yeah, just I sort of got carried away drinking at some uni friend's house, and got a bit carried away, and then my wife sadly had to drive me back home. I vomited in the car, and yeah, I was too wasted to even wash myself. So my wife had to help me into the shower, and I was just like, I don't remember it, but yeah, very embarrassing. But funny
She's a real
to
one.
laugh at.
She's a real
Not
one.
in the moment. Definitely grateful for my wife, but yeah, sadly not the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened in my marriage. But another story for another day. So.
Nice.
Moral of the story: don't drink alcohol, bro. Don't do it, bro. Don't do it.
Drink with bread and Jay's friends.
Don't have alcoholic parents.
Alright. Sweet. Yeah, my week's been good. Pulling back on commitments. It's been good rest time. First weekend I've just spent just with my partner. And everything just was getting postponed. So I was just like, man, I'm loving it. Everyone's feeling this weather. Just spending some quality time. And yeah, just having time to rest as well after that competition last 2 weekends ago.
Just fill them in.
Sorry, we went to Tauranga, competed in project and came away with the dub. So yeah, prestige.
Oh, prestige.
Add a link to the video in the description.
Check it down below.
Yeah, NZ Prestige. Watch the full clip. But yeah.
I'm at the back with the hat like that.
You did a flip.
Those me.
But yeah, I just knew that after the competition process, man, my body was just like, have a rest, man. I'm sleeping, but I wake up still I don't know, exhausted. So it's been good rejuvenation. But yeah, and good to see my family as well. Good catching up. Amazing. Cool. My opener. What's your favorite song or piece of music?
Right now, first thing.
Oh, there's a song that was made in 1980 from William DeVaughn. It's called Be Thankful for What You Got. And then it was pretty buzzy because Erykah Badu made another edition 20 years later in 2000. And then just last year in 2020, Lucky Day. Isn't it Lucky Day? He created a modern day version. But the progression of all of those, frick, it's so cool. And just a message in it as well. Be thankful for what you got. Kind of self-explanatory, but that's the vibes right now. Yeah.
There'll be a link in the description.
Who's Lucky Day?
Brad's gonna make a 2040 version, 2021 version. Oh,
Who's Lucky Day? Oh, Felix.
he sings Roll Some More. Is that Roll Some More? No, I'm not even gonna try to. But he's an up and coming artist. But heaps of he sang a D'Angelo cover.
Oh wow!
And D'Angelo gave him the blessing to sing that song for him as well. I think it was at a awards night or something. Yeah. But yeah, he's up and coming, but bro, he's an extraordinaire. Multifaceted in the music realm. But yeah.
Thankful.
Nice one.
Come on, bro. Cool. Yep. Thanks, Charles. Thanks for the boys. Good catch up. But I'll tell you what, boys, I've just been really extremely busy the last few weeks. And which is I'm not complaining, which is really cool. But I've been running these programs, 20 schools at the moment, which is cool. And but which is cool. I think it's really cool. And so most of my days kind of the weeks are just kind of long, but I still get some real cool time with my family as well. With my wife. Obviously, my wife's been really busy as well. So she's up and down the country while I'm kind of manning the fort sometimes here while I'm running the school programs, and also Phoenix with his training and Charlie's and all that kind of stuff over F45. So it's been really busy, really cool, and also different projects. So I was really happy about the animation one. I went with Phoenix to Invercargill. And so to present the animation.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah. Oh, Phoenix and the Pizza Case.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sick. Yeah. Let's go.
Phoenix and the Pizza Case with Invercargill, and just so it was really cool. Just present the whole animation and people getting animators on board.
Wow.
So there's that's really cool, man. So so a lot of things on the horizon, but really busy, but also very thankful as well. And so, but also always a blessing to be with the boys with Mandate. And so I just say, you won $1 million, how would you spend it? Oh man,
Mandate Netflix.
but no, you yeah. How would I spend it? Yeah, I don't know. I think probably pouring the money with. I think one thing I've always wanted was my dream car. Do I have a guess? My dream car, like this is the car I've always wanted.
Cadillac.
Yes,
Mustang.
Mustang. Fastback Mustang, 1963. So yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh, Mustang and yeah, and then put in money for other projects and just make other things come to life, come true. And,
Nothing for Carolyn.
Oh yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh yeah, obviously yeah. Just with my wife and family.
That's what the tax rebates for.
Yeah. All that stuff with family. But yeah, I don't know, man. To be honest, $1 million is a lot of money. But yeah, I don't know. Definitely Mustang.
Nice.
Charles, thanks for sharing, my brother.
Charles.
So brothers, shucks. Yeah, just been a bit busy with work and camp and some other projects I'm part of. But yeah, anything stand out? So we're in the process. Me and my wife been in the process of getting a house, trying to get on the property market. So, we did our goals at the beginning of the year, and getting on the property ladder was one of our goals. So, we're one step closer. So looking forward to the whole process. Hopefully next year we will be homeowners.
Let's get it.
It's updated and
The mandate at your house.
and it'll be in Mangele, so it'll be 275.
Ooh.
It'll be interesting.
Mangele Bridge.
Not far from La Salle, so Mangere East.
That's the one.
Maywa takeaway.
Link in the description.
Best one-time super.
So really excited about that and just praying for making the right choices and God will be in the whole process. My question is, what would you like to do more of? Spend time with family. Spend more time with family. Yeah.
Me?
Deep. That's good. Boys, that's me.
Sicky.
Yeah,
Good catch up.
Good catch up, man.
Good catch up. See you guys next week.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. What's
What's
breaking
happening?
news, bro?
Breaking news, I'm just seeing the update from Jacinda today. And Jacinda Adern announces apology for dawn raids targeting Pacifica people in the 1970s.
Wow.
About
do we all,
time.
I was gonna say for the uninitiated, do we want to give a breakdown on
What the
just
dawn
give
raids were?
Yeah.
You want
For Brad's sake.
definitely
Don't raids.
Cool, so I'll read what she said. So Jacinda had to say the dawn raids were a defining moment in New Zealand's history, and the emotional harm caused by them remains etched in the living memory of those who were directly impacted. Communities at the time felt targeted and terrorized, and there is clear evidence the raids were discriminatory and have had lasting negative impact. An apology can never reverse what happened or undo the damage caused, but we can acknowledge it and we seek to right a wrong. So, just for context, in the 1970s, after I think Polynesians and Maori fought the World War with New Zealand, they saw a immigration problem, and Robert Muldoon ordered police officers to go and check visas, right? Particularly in Ponsonby and around the port, close to the port where a lot of our Pacific community was, and they'd go at 5 a.m. and pretty much bust into houses and try and
Do visa checks.
yeah, and pretty much do visa checks. If you didn't have your visa or passport, they'll send you
send you packing.
send you packing. Maybe not even pack your bag. They might just take you back to the ship or the plane, and pretty much take you back to the islands. I think that was powerful. What she said, you can't undo the damage of that, but acknowledging it to right the wrong. And yeah, I think this is something, I don't know.
Long overdue.
Yeah, long overdue. Eh?
And I think to add to that, because you gotta remember, I think it was around the 50s, 1950s. No one was doing these factory jobs, and like New Zealand opened it up to like pretty much Samoa and all our Pacific Island nations. Like
There's work.
there's work here. Come, you can live here, blah blah, and all of our people came, especially all of our people came. And they worked, they did all the crap jobs, but they were all staying around that area. And then it got to the 1970s. I think they were going, there was hardly any jobs going around. And then so islanders were getting the blame and go, send them back, they're taking our work. And so they put in that rule, like immigration rules. But we had overstayers from America and England, but it was only islanders that were
getting targeted to have those actual dawn raids where they break in. Just like you'd see in the movies where they go and like break into a house like unexpectedly, people don't know, and they just raid the house.
It was really sad, eh?
And when you hear some of the stories from the actual people that lived through it, man, it was bad. They had to like, all the neighbors had to hide each other, or they had to like jump the fence, and it was a good time, and that's what birthed the like the Polynesian Panthers here, and they really fought for our people and trying to, be that voice to a group that was marginalized. And so, like, when we hear about this apology and the fight that our people been trying to do for so long, it's about time. But I hope it's not a political move. But yeah, I think the people have spoken. They've done petitions, letters, and look forward to what this looks like.
But it's really unfortunate, like Charles say, like in the 50s, 60s, Robert Muldoon, New Zealand offered jobs because a lot of the Kiwis back in those days didn't want to do that kind of the so-called dirty jobs. So, so they had to find other people, and so they thought, okay, the islanders were quite happy to come to New Zealand and migrate to New Zealand and do the so-called dirty jobs because the New Zealanders didn't want to do it. And so what had happened is that because there was an influx of islanders and then they were taking all the jobs, it was flourishing. The jobs and the economy and money was really good for back in the 60s, 70s. And what happened, like Charles was saying, because the jobs were taken, and hey, you're taking our jobs. So they had to put like a cap, like, oh, wait a minute, these guys are taking our jobs. And so that's when the riots, not the riots, but the dawn raids kind of happened. And so, then you had a bit of a mix it in with racism and ignorance. And then, it was a very sad time. Like, I say that because of my dad got caught. He got caught in the dawn raids, and he had to get deported back to Samoa. Damn. But he was married. And his wife at that time, his first wife, had a child, was pregnant. And so he was deported back to Samoa. And so what had happened that his first wife, had a child and remarried, and he never came back. And he didn't come back to her, but he did come back. I don't know when he came back, but he came back and then started a new life, as she started her new life with her new husband. And so all that kind of stuff, And so, but it's a lot of sadness because a lot of people, and they had like the Untold story. You see that with Felix was in the. He had a lot of the islanders having all these secret codes and to warn each other. Oh no, you're gonna hide. Or they'll ring up certain number of rings, They went to hide.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was a very sad time. Not only for the Pacific people, there were a lot of good New Zealanders, Balangi Pākehās, who were really trying to help. They felt for the islanders, and would even like.
So they're hiding the kids in
hiding
classroom.
the kids. They would have these wooden boards where they hide kids, and teachers would hide kids because they knew immigration was coming. So, oh my gosh, and they would risk their own jobs to help these Polynesian kids. And so, it's sad. It's sad that the government could have went down that road with Robert Muldoon. But yeah, real dark time for our Pacific people at that time.
It seems interesting, and something I've just picked up is you're saying they live in like Ponsonby, like that really nice area, the islanders. So they get pushed out from there. I'm guessing where to out south or something, Otara and
So
because that would have been prime real estate. I mean, you're sitting, not far
Right
from the
next to the
city and next to the water. And if you look at those places now, they're all super rich, really wealthy areas. And so the polys that came over, were they living in those areas, and then they got when the dorm raids came, they got pushed out.
You're looking at Ponsonby, Grey Lynn.
I don't know, man. It's
all the islanders were congregated, and a lot of them.
Once they, it was a whole different.
that would have been a whole
I
different
mean,
thing.
South Auckland, there was a lot of land, and then they started selling the dream. Go and get your first house, and there's cheap houses out here, and it was real cheap. And then everyone started buying homes. Like they all left Central and came to South Auckland. And then, what's that word again?
Gentrification, yeah.
What's happening again?
What is it? What's that word?
Gentrification.
Gentrification.
Gentrification. Being gentrified. Being in a part of in the Panthers, it was buzzy because it was kind of a rollover effect of doing the doco for the Pacific Untold Stories. Plug Pacific Untold Stories, free. Thank you Radio New Zealand for telling these stories that need to be told. Episode 1's about the Dawn Raids. So I was grateful to play Tingy in that, Shea Fu's dad, reenacting how they'd go to the politicians' houses and Dawn raid them. They'll go with their loud hailers and with their flashlights and say, "Where's your visa? Where's your visa? Show us your passport." And then with that language, and then to be on the other side of the TV series that's coming out later, and hearing the stories from the actual Panthers, from William Ilolahia, the creator of Polynesian Panthers, and seeing him, and on the day one of filming, he gave us his blessing to tell the story, tell the story of, we're all Panthers, 50 years since 1970, and this is the time. Thank you guys for living through us. I mean, for telling our story, and just bringing it up to light. And there were moms that had to hide their children in fridges, like babies in fridges. The extremes of this was bloody crazy, and just seeing Scribe's dad came into set one day, gave his blessing, just to be around, just to bring that wide war, and you could just feel that unresolved pain kind of slowly coming together, or just bringing that wholeness and healing to them, that face that reality, because and it's just evident in the Mau. We're natural fighters, and we got Martin Luther King and them up there fighting for being the resistance against the system and colonization. Gandhi, where us Polynesians have been doing it since early 1900s. The Mau movement, and just it's like a repeat. Helen Clark apologizing for the Mau, for trying to colonize Samoa, and apologizing for all of that war, and and then now Jacinda Arden apologizing for something that happened here. But I'm just grateful to be a part of the voice, the voice of change, and I think just believing in the new narrative that we are, we aren't stereotypes. you see South Auckland, and I think gentrification is still happening today in different ways that we can't see. But I think just keeping that conversation going, will continue to help us critically think. And yeah, grateful to be a part of this generation that's open about civil rights and talking about change. Because yeah, man, if we don't stand up, who else gonna stand up for us?
Hard. Yeah. But you look at the men. Look at those men who stood up. You look at Tupua Tamasese, Tupua Tamasese Lealofi the third, and then you look at William, the leader of
and he was only 20. William Ilolahia. So he created this.
And the cool thing about these guys, they were young men who were educated, but they weren't afraid to speak their minds, and that's why I think, like, as men, or even as young men, we have no excuse to not succeed, or to stand up for what is right and the moral values of it. But look at these men who, and you just mentioned Martin Luther King Jr. Even before him, who were the very first individuals who started civil rights was Tupua Tamasese Samoa before that. And so you look at the 1900s, and the Mau movement was the first actual peaceful march back in
in Samoa.
Yeah, it's in Samoa. So the Mau, it's in Samoa. So the Mau means resolute or resolved or opinionated, and the motto of Samoa back in the days, it was all peaceful. It was a peaceful protest, not non-violent. And so so the motto of Samoa back in the days was what? Samoa.
More Samoa.
Yeah, Samoa, more Samoa. Samoa for Samoa. It's for Samoa people. And so obviously you had people come in, like Germany, you had America, you had England come and try to colonize Samoa. All these nations, big nations would come in. But you look at the resolution or the resilience of Samoa and these men, and you think of Tupua Tamasese. And so the whole story of and they call it the Black Saturday, yes, and Felix said it. Helen Clark apologized 2002, and really the colonization, but also more so for the influenza in 1918 because of how many people, because someone from New Zealand came and they docked, there's a ship there in the waterfront, brought the influenza to Samoa, or the Spanish flu, and hundreds of thousands of Samoans died.
Took a quarter of the population.
Yeah, so they died, and so they finally apologized. Yeah, and so Helen Clark apologized 2002, apologized for what had happened, because no one acknowledged, hey, someone from New Zealand brought the disease and infected all of Samoa. Yeah.
Which is sad, eh? You start telling us to go back home. This ain't your country.
Yeah, which is
we're all immigrants, except for them.
And that's it, because the Dawn Raid Stereo, they'll see brown people and then hit them up with your visa. Yeah. Then they'll hit up the Maoris.
Yeah.
Show me your passport. Hey, you're hitting up the person that should be asking you, where's your passport? You know? Yeah. Like, you're the visitor. You're the oversteer here, right? But just because you have words and, laws that somehow entitles you to authority over, society. That's crazy. It's messed up.
Yeah. It just makes me think about Herald comments at the moment. Just like, well, what are you saying sorry for? Like, there's other issues more important than this apology. I was going, But see, there's a relation, because people are like saying there's current issues like housing and poverty that we need to address. And I was going, a lot of what had happened before affects the way our people are living today. And so there needs to be reconciliation, there needs to be there needs to be...
That's a start, eh?
Yeah, it's a start. And all those people that are in the comment section that don't know Jack... Okay, learn your fucker, papaya.
So that was someone commented on Instagram, because I was like, yes, reparations. Cause I commented on the apology letter from Benji Timmy. Shout out, thank you for leading that, Us. And then I was like, yo, reparations, ASAP. And then some guy goes, reparations. We should start with reparations for Māori land. I was like, hey, this is just a seed planted so that we get a foot in the door and it becomes a regular thing that we can start, voicing our opinion. But I think there's that like differentiation between Maori and Pacific Islander. New Zealand's still an island, like technically we're still Polynesia, you know, like so we're still like together kind of thing. But I think just because I don't know, Maori might have had a bit, you know, different here to how we had it in the islands, but you know, we're all one family, man. We're all brown, same color. So yeah, keep it up. Keep it up, you know.
Keep it geary, mate.
Keep it geary. Did you see that? The Germans the New Zealanders try to tell the like strip Makais, the chiefs of Samoa, from their titles, so that it'll eliminate the authority in Samoa, and then they'll send like the head leaders overseas out of Samoa so that they try and diminish the spirit. And then one of the guys, Olaf Nelson, came to New Zealand and then met a Maori guy that taught him how to fight against the crown even more, so that when he went back to Samoa, he took those same blueprints and then started fighting even more, more different strategically.
That's mad.
Yeah, so
funny,
man.
But so you said that
Just the stories.
Olaf Nelson, you're right. Olaf Nelson, they brought him to, they took him to New Zealand. They took him. They imprisoned him, and so he was in prison. And so
For what?
Yeah, because he was half Samoan,
Afakasi.
German,
Sure.
Dutch, whatever. Yeah, so he came here. They imprisoned him, and then I think he came back. And then what happened with the mole? Two guys were coming from in New Zealand, in prison in New Zealand. They came waterfront, and then the mole Tupua came with, okay, let's go have a peaceful protest. These guys are coming back, and then the cops or the New Zealand police said, we'll keep an eye on these guys just in case something happens or a ruckus happens. And so what happens, they go there, and then what happens, they get provoked, and then they kill. They provoke these guys because they're there to see their friends come back from New Zealand. They get provoked, and what happens, which is really sad, they get provoked to the point where I think one of the police does something, and then one of the guys in the mole, he clubs him to death. And then what happens is they have, the soldiers, they find out, and they have like some sort of a machine gun or gun, and they start shooting in this building, or like a parliamentary building. And so what happens, they get killed. Yeah, that's where the Tupua gets killed, which is really sad. Yeah.
And his last words, eh?
Yeah, Tupua he gets killed. His mate dies first. And the sad thing about it is that Tupua runs to the front of the line to say to other Samoan guys, hey, old pisa, file mu. Don't quiet down, take it easy, guys, just calm down. He goes there, but he's facing his back, and so he gets shot, and his other mate tries to come and get him, gets shot, and it's too late, he dies, he ends up dying. But his last words, I'm going to paraphrase it, I'm not going to say in Samoan. His last words is, my blood was spilt for Samoa, I'm proud to give it to Samoa. But he also says that if I die, let me die, but let peace must be maintained at any cost.
Wow.
It wasn't like, oh, come on, guys, let's kill them, let's retaliate.
While he's dying, he's saying this stuff.
Which is really sad, and he dies. It's like, man. So you think of a man of that, of that kind of caliber, just and die like that, and with honor, and not like, hey, come on, guys, let's kill these guys, let's retaliate and get our land back. But hey, you think of it, like men like that, who just exude so much pride, but also humility. I don't know if I could do that, but you just kill them, just go crazy, and sometimes we as Samoans or as Islanders, we see red, like just yeah. But amazing. Yeah, you're right, Charles. We will be like that. But yeah, that's just the true history of that. And then you get an apology in 2002, and so and that's what they call it. Black Saturday, December the 29th, 1929. And so pretty sad, eh? Just the history of
1929. Then Samoa gained their independence 1962.
Yeah.
Like 33 years later. That's still like what happened between then, that's crazy.
Yeah.
This is some big steps here, I think, for closure at least, or for some kind of because you're right, or what they said is true. Nothing's gonna change what happened with these dawn raids and all the racism and that's happened. But the bigger steps than I've seen, other governments and that take.
Man, it's interesting. This is all. It's all new to me. Yeah, like I've heard the words like dawn raid and I've heard terms, but don't remember ever being taught this in school. And essentially, all of my education is just through the system. So.
Me too.
Never heard any of this mentioned. Never heard any of all the names that are mentioned. No idea about them. So it's weird. Not weird, but like it's interesting hearing the history and like not really knowing how to feel about it. Like I know I'm brown. I'm Samoan. I was raised in South Auckland, and yet like these stories, these characters or these people are like strangers to me. And so just trying to process like it should be more meaningful to me, but I feel weirdly disconnected, man.
That's me.
It's cool. Yeah,
that's cool, Jay.
I feel you on that. That's why I had to pause, like at the start when I was talking about the Dawn Raiders and Polynesian Panthers. I'm speaking from hearsay because I didn't experience any of that. And so I had to check myself and like pull back, and I was like, needed to pass the mic. I was like, I'm speaking of it, but I'm not. Like I'm speaking outside of it, but. I don't think I was showing enough. I don't know. Empathy. Like when explaining this, I was like, don't just share this for the hell of it. Like share it to educate. Whoever's watching. So I feel you on that, bro. Because man, I didn't even speak Samoan.
Jay, this cool.
It's interesting because I wasn't taught this in school as well. I only sort of learnt about this when I went to MIT when I was like studying at uni. But before that, I had no idea. So it's like this is some buried stuff here, man. I mean, if we're going through this now, imagine how many other people that have been affected by it, not knowing really that their parents or their grandparents or whatever went through this.
I didn't learn this until uni as well because I had to do a research paper. But when I found out about it, I was angry. It angered me that this was part of our history and that we weren't taught about it. And then it sort of like pushed me to want to do more for my people and like really educate our people about what's happening and how can we really push each other to excel in areas that for so long that we've been looked at as the bottom of the heap. And so I guess as a South Aucklander, as a Polynesia, it's like trying to just empower those around me and educate myself. But it's sad that that this stuff happens.
So what's the sort of like what comes next after the apology? So the apology acknowledges that it's happened, but like I'm genuinely curious, like what sort of.
I doubt anything would happen. I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm not up to date.
Well, what
with
should
anything,
happen then? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what can happen. Really, it's like anything to do with trying to sort of make up for it is going to be on such a large scale. Like I don't know how you determine that.
But also the way that they give, whatever way they choose to give it back, it doesn't quite fit like with the wrongdoing that's happened. Like it does because it's intergenerational. It's something that's happened way in the past, years later, and so whatever they can do to give back to right this wrong, it's never really gonna connect together fully. So I'm just I don't know. I was just curious.
It'd be interesting to see what. Yeah, I mean I don't know if you guys have ideas you would have sent to Jacinda Adern, then by all means.
What should happen next?
What should happen next after the apology?
I think the good thing that's come out of it is that more New Zealanders are talking about this. What's the dawn raids? Look at us. We're talking about it, and not all of us known about it. So it's been acknowledged, and then probably moving forward, how can New Zealand like change things so we're not discriminated against?
I mean, one simple way is if it's at least taught in social studies in school.
I was just gonna say
I know.
that's okay.
Because man, I had no idea about this, and if people at least in high school learn about this, then that'd be
they're
cool.
doing a refine like the testing period of like the curriculum for
2022.
I think so for 2022. For next year they're bringing it in for New Zealand history, but it's I think based around Maori in particular. But I think it'd be cool to like
fight to get
include
that
these stories like to be part of it, so that every New Zealander, in the future knows about these stories. And
Like even if it's the ethnicities in your school, like even at Manureo High, we're like 80% Pacifica. So like it makes sense we tell Pacifica history to 80% of the school. Right? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, telling our stories, man.
Alright, let's make it happen. Start that petition.
Change the curriculum.
Start the remote.
Racism seems to be what's trending at the moment. It seems to be flooding our news feeds, and it's triggered a lot of interest, a lot of different thoughts. But yeah, it would be cool to talk about our own experiences around racism, and I don't know, does it really affect you, or what's on your heart, what's on your mind?
I mean, for me, the first thing that comes to mind, not necessarily racism, it's more like identity for me, because obviously I'm brown, Samoan, Māori, but I don't speak Samoan, I don't speak Māori. I'm not I don't have huge ties to them. We weren't, we learned some of the locals in Samoan, the prayers that you do. We learned some of those, but by no means could I understand or have a conversation. But anytime I go to anywhere where it's like, I might be an extended family that's Samoan, that only speaks Samoan, they just assume that I know how to speak Samoan. Like if I meet another brown person, they know, oh, you're Samoan. And then just start speaking to me in Samoan. It's like, man, I don't know what you're saying. So it's not that they're being racist or anything. It's just like there's probably a whole generation of people like me that were born in New Zealand. We weren't born in the islands. We don't speak Samoan or Māori. And it's not that we don't want to learn about our culture and learn about where we come from, but it's like, we're just one of those ones that were only taught English. So, I mean, we're essentially Kiwis, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so there's this constant, like, when you go into a group of a new circle of friends, or you go to a new school, automatically, like, people have you pinned down as, oh, you must be one of those guys. Or you go to a new job, oh, you're one of those poly guys. It's like, dude, I only speak English. Like, you know what I mean? So I just found that's about as, it's not that people it's not that there's a problem with racism with me specifically, but there's just this sort of like identity crisis. Like, I'm brown, but really I'm white on the inside, because that's really, in terms of culture, that's all I've come to know.
Right.
So, I've always had this little bit of a struggle here and there through high school, and in my adult life. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that I can't, and people like me can't keep trying to learn about your culture, learn about your roots, your genealogy, your ancestors, and trying to create those ties. It doesn't mean you have to learn the language, although that is probably a positive. But I just thought I'll say my little 5 cents. And you guys, anything come to mind?
Any hardcore experiences? Anyone in your face, kind of outright in your face kind of experiences?
I don't think anyone would dare, like.
Probably the worst would come from other polys. Like, it would be
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would have the guts to go, oi, you bonga, come up to your face or call you a coconut. Just because,
good luck.
Good hands. But there's always that subtle one. I always think about institutional racism. How things are structured in a way where we're not meant to excel. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm still thinking.
I feel like racism's sort of evolved, where maybe perhaps back in the day it was more outgoing, like people would call you names. Whereas now I feel like the currency of racism is subtlety. It's all undercover type stuff, where it makes it hard to identify sometimes. Like for myself, I think there's been lots of little things that have happened, but because of the way I am, and I still don't really understand why, but I always just put it down to like, I must have done something, like, and so it's been hard for me to differentiate. Is it because of my skin color, or is it because I look a certain way, because I look mean, or I don't know. I've always internalized that stuff and thought that something's wrong with me, kind of thing. But when you mentioned like institutionalized racism, the other thing that came to mind was just academia. Like as a student now, I'm fortunate that like some of our lecturers are Pacific, and it makes me feel like this is partly our space. But I also know that because we're studying out in Manukau, that doesn't necessarily get represented in all the other campuses around the country. And so I know that's one of my personal drives is to reshape the space so it becomes our own space, so that people of colour can feel like their values and their cultural values and the things they did that aren't recognised by the education system now will be recognised one day as something of value. I don't really know how else to put it, but that's all that comes to mind.
Are there about as many are there about as many, what do you call it, Islander or Pacific Island lecturers and stuff as there are white people, or
no, definitely
it's
not.
definitely still
Definitely more,
even at Manukau it's still
there's still there's like there's not as many, but the ones that are there are, they're all family oriented. They understand that, like, we have our commitments to our faith, our commitments to our family. But even just in my my training to be a teacher, like being on practicum with a very skilled, very experienced teacher, but just from a completely different background, doesn't have faith, doesn't have kids or that family background that we pretty much all have, and that we value. And so when their standard is not being met for work, their expectations are not being met, they just cannot comprehend why we would let things like family or faith
get in the way,
or social interaction get in the way. And that's just because that's how our people learn. We learn through interacting with other people, and caring for our family is, I can't imagine not putting that stuff to the side and sacrificing that for the sake of playing my part in this big engine of education. So definitely eye-opening, but it just made me double down on like my family, my faith. Like I'm never going to compromise that stuff for the sake of my dreams.
Job.
And so I'll reshape my dreams, or reshape the landscape to fit what I feel is relevant to me, because I know I'm not the only one. There's other people that feel the same way.
That's so true. So it's funny you mentioned academia, Jamin. I think it was last week. Samoan female doctor, does your name? Jemaima Tiatia-Seath.
Saw that.
And so she was kind of sharing her thoughts around other female women in the education system and other doctors, I think, so to speak. And so she was saying some of the hardships that she had to face, or that they had to face in the education system. And so, and being a brown Samoan Islander, these are the things that she went through. And then some woman, a Kiwi Balingi woman,
7-minute voicemail.
Voicemail, and said, this is baloney. What's this? And just kind of ripping what Jemaima was talking about, or shared.
You should listen to it.
Yeah. So Jemaima Tiatia, she's up there. She's a doctor. She's amazing. So you have this woman comes on, this is full of lies, rubbish.
You want to push your culture?
Yeah, culture. What's all this? Yeah.
It was our people that came here to build this
roads.
country. This game.
Yeah.
Your people came here. And...
Which is I don't get that.
The rant. That's bad, bro.
Yeah, so she was ranting for 7 minutes, and so Jemaima was very clever. Like, Jemaima could have just called it back up and say, "Hey, who the F are you? Who the heck are you?" Now she goes, "Oh, you know what? I'll do you. Let's plaster you all over the media. Let's put you on the Herald and I think
calling her.
Yeah, she called.
That's the subtle racism, me.
Or not so subtle racism.
Acting like it's just an innocent voicemail. Man got blasted all over.
So she so that woman, she must feel like I don't know. she must feel like a complete idiot, or she just doesn't
I
care.
bet you she doesn't see anything wrong with it.
Mm.
And and the saddest thing is, it might be one person, but that's a representation of some people that actually feel and act that way.
Yo.
And it's and I think what Jemaima did was, let's start calling it out. Let's put you on blast. For too long, we've sort of like let things slide and go, oh shucks, maybe you're right, or we just kept, because of our humble nature, we just we'll just let it slide. But now, we've got people like, nah, we've had enough. It's time. But what Jemaima said, I think her last interview, she said, let's start having these conversations because they're important, like, in terms of moving forward. And
That brings up such a good point. I feel like essentially what we're doing here is important for people, because in a lot of workspaces, schools, anywhere really, you can run into these microaggressions, these little places where people, they might have power over you, or they might have authority over you. It might be a teacher or something that is, slipping some racist slurs or doing something that's derogatory to you or discriminatory to you because of the color of your skin. And so at the very least, talking about it to someone, at least just getting it out there. She put on full blast, which is cool, but I think she's right. I think this conversation needs to be had. People need to be talking about it instead of just doing what we normally do and just push it to the side and let it slip and let it slide. I mean, the fact that the government is doing this apologies is the start of something, bro. Oh, what is it? Blood boiling, man. The blood's boiling. Let it Charles. Let it up, man.
What is this?
Nah, sorry, it's you cut it up because it's a side. It's a side thing. My mind just
tangent.
It's a little tangent. You just see it's a slide, and then my mind meets something else. Sorry,
some professor, some doctor,
sorry.
I'm going to talk on the academia as well. Like, I think I was having a discussion. It was like some stuff after school drinks, but then it was like there was this joke that didn't sit well with me because it was kind of, I can't remember the joke, but I just remember the feeling when I heard it, and then I was like replayed it in my head. I was like, what did he say? But it was like what
was he insinuating? What was
it was just insinuating, stereotyping one of the brown kids at school, and just that kind of like just because you teach at a predominantly brown school, licenses you to make stereotypical jokes, that actually are actually put downs toward our
like
our
racist
culture.
jokes,
Make racist jokes. Yeah. But they laugh about it. Give the thing, and then I was like, Then it's like, hey, wait, run that back, and I was like, nah, that didn't sit well for me. That was an experience that I could think of like recently, and I'm just putting it out there for teachers out there to actually understand. Don't think don't make a preconception or assumption of the environment. Only speak of it if you've been into their house or come from that life. What were you gonna say?
What Nash was the person who said
Caucasian. The caucasity of the man. that's rolling on.
That's a good one, man.
Caucasity. But yeah.
I'll get more angry if an islander had said that.
Yo, those bounty ones, white on the inside, brown on the outside.
If they said
surprise,
it
right?
just shows they've normalized it.
They're part of the system now.
Yeah, they're part of the system. Okay. Yeah.
But I think what I was saying before, like I think I actually didn't get like too much of the in your face racism growing up, and I think the hood kind of taught me how to act in a way to be respectful, or like I know that this white woman feels uncomfortable with me with my hoodie on, so I'm gonna greet her happily, like just teaching me little things of like mannerisms to try and break those. Like even today I was in the chemist, and then like this white lady walks past me with her son and goes, "Oh, you want dreads like that?" like talking to me like I'm a mannequin or something. Talking about me like I'm just,
That thing
just,
over there.
yeah, that brown thing that's moving. But yeah, took it to her son, and then I was like, yep, and I just went along with it. I was like, yep, it's gonna take a long time, bro. It's gonna take like 5 years for me. And she's like, oh yes, nice clean dreads. And then talking to him, and then saying something there. I was like, cool, I'll just leave it there. Not too much, not trying to scare her away or something, but just like that. I don't know, just having that. Why do we have that feeling of like wanting? I don't know, white people's approval or white people's validation of, oh, you're proper, you're civil, you're a civil human being, And I think the hood taught me how to be aware of that, but different spaces and different people taught me how to act in a way that is just respectful and to like bridge those,
You're right about trying to find little ways.
commonalities.
You're trying to find little ways to make it so that if they are internally racist, you're trying to make it so that they don't have to act on that. Or they don't have to feel like threatened. If you go on a bus and there's a lady there, she like should have like moves away from you because you're a brown guy. It's like, wow, man.
Changing perspective of brown people.
Yo. So walking in there and smiling, say, oh, hey, good morning. That could go potentially a long way.
And there's a lot of what you said, like especially towards the end about getting the approval. I just feel like all my life I've played that part of like bending the knee to try and appease, to try and make people feel safe and stuff, and it sort of resulted in a lot of. I just feel like I've got a lot of internal anger about frustration that I have to do that in the first place, but also, like I just feel like it's left me as a shell of who the hell am I, like kind of thing.
Right.
I've bent the knee so many years that I just don't even know what's right or wrong anymore, and like. So when there are subtle acts of racism that I feel like I definitely identify them, but I put them down to, like I'm in the wrong. Like I automatically think I've done something wrong.
Right.
And so...
It's the years of conditioning.
Kind of. But it just feels like because of that, there's a lot of anger inside that... to the point of like, I just sometimes feel like I don't have the courage to like really say what I want to say to, I know it's a free, it's supposed to be a free land and you can speak your mind freely, but I just still feel like there's these unconscious chains on my mind where I still have to, automatically I'm processing, is it like, what are people going to think? Like I'm always, like at the school that I went to where there was one Polynesian teacher in the whole school. There was one male teacher in the whole school, and having to choose my words carefully when I'm speaking, when I'm greeting people, because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. But that's something that's been conditioned in me for so long that my default is, where's the common thread? Like I should be greeting them in the way that they want to be greeted, so that they don't feel comfortable. And it frustrates me to hell because I want to just be able to speak my mind, but I'm stopping myself, and people will say, oh, it's your own fault. Like, you can do it, just do it. But in my mind, it's like, I've always done it this way. And it's, I don't know, it's not as simple as that in my head. So that's something I've always struggled with. And even now, I still struggle with it. So I don't really know how to
combat that,
yeah.
I like that bent the knee. It's a good way to put it.
It was how I voiced my frustration. I was like, man, I'm so sick of bending the bloody knee. I just feel like I'm going to have arthritis in my knees because I'm down on my knees all the time, groveling to be accepted by, in these spaces that aren't really ours.
Yeah.
Or they don't feel like they're ours.
Yeah, hard up.
That's powerful, bro. Shots are sharing that. Because, there's a tension that most of us would be walking through, and it's a journey, and I just hope that we rally around each other to sort of help navigate that space, so we're not feeling like that, so we can be us. Someone did I heard someone do a lecture before around racism, but talked about how Pacifica, we need to capitalize on our cultural competence. You say Pacifica and Maori, we're able to walk in two different worlds, in our Pacifica world and in the Parangi world. We can walk that space, but Parangi can't. They can't come into our space, and we need to like be confident and sort of capitalize on that. And when I heard that, I was going, man, I'm walking these spaces here now. They then accept me as who I am. That's their problem. They lose out, and so I put, you know, I'm a part of this. I'm attending this event, or this. I don't want to sort of put it out there, but this event that's predominantly Parangi, and I knew that if I go into the space, because I try to avoid these spaces because I feel uncomfortable, and it's more because I'm more aware now that if I sort of become that token person, or someone does those subtle things for me, I'm scared how I might react. But I knew that it's important for me in terms of my growth that I need to be in this space. So I went to this place. It was Flash, and I walked in, and straight away I was like, "Oh man, I'm the only brown guy." I was like, "No," and I purposely like just went dressed like me, like my jeans, my chucks, my black tee, and I walked in. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna intentionally make conversation," and yeah, I was uncomfortable, but man, I made some good connections. There's some really amazing people that were at this thing, and they were really intentional about being for. I've just seen all people as equal, and that there wasn't like that I wasn't beneath them, I wasn't inferior. And, it was cool, but I had to, like, my new saying for the theme for me the last 2 months was like being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And after being at the event and sharing my story and just being me, there were some people were moved, and I realized, man, I need to be in these spaces so I can bring others with me that were the spearheads. Like, sometimes we're going to be in those spaces where we're the only ones, but we need to be sort of like the spearhead, you know, in the arrow, like. And all those, in order for others to follow, we need to be the ones that pierce through, be the first ones that sort of break through for the others to come. And so hearing you say that, and like you're on this journey, I just want to encourage you, Jay. There's a reason why you're in these spaces. There's a reason why you got sent to that place. You might be that chicken brown guy that they always get you to do the karakia for the mea ai
Something tribal. Something cultural.
Give us some of your culture.
But this is true, Jake. One time, true story. They told me, hey, can you do a karakia for us? Sweet as I'll do a karakia. I was like, okay. Man, thank you, brother. Back it up, I had a bunch of these other guys like, hey, say talofa, kia ora. Yo, kia ora, no, fuck off like that. I made up just random, put up a kapa. And I just make them laugh, man. You have no idea what I'm talking about, man. Just go with it, man. So yeah, man. So next time, just do it, Jay. Just do anything and just. Oh, they're like, oh, that's amazing.
Damn, the gift of tongues, eh?
Make it up, man.
Anyways, Jay, can you open up for us? Our Father who art in heaven. Let's go straight to the English.
Oh man, my dad was like, honestly, he was the life of the party. He was this real boisterous, loud man, but he just, I don't know, the Kiwis or the Balangis, they loved him. He just, I don't know, he just had this way of, I don't know, maybe it was just one of those things. He just rolled with the punches, but I think he just kind of de-escalated a lot of the stuff that. And like you were saying, he just adapted and said, no, I'm proud to be Samoan, so it doesn't matter, take me as I am. So that was his attitude, just be proud of who we are, and then don't worry about it, you know. So yeah, and he had his fair share of being called coconut, but my dad was so good at turning it around. Yeah, coconut, yes, I know you love coconut as well, and all that kind of stuff. He was just real that kind of guy, yeah. He's just real funny, yeah. So I don't know, yeah, just one of those things. I think that we, as Polynesian, we use humour turn the tables and make them look
Diffuse
silly.
the situation.
Yeah.
Yo, hold up.
Yeah, I'm not. I think my parents were part of the group that just came to just work hard and earn money and get a better life for us, position us. But I've heard stories where, some islanders had to come and change their first name and their last name
Wow.
so they could fit in. So it would usually be like Betia, but now it's Peter. Nah.
It is a true story. It's a true
My
story.
name is Charles.
Charles.
Wow.
Used to be Rocky, but
My view.
Nah, that's cool though. Especially what you guys were saying about in your spaces, you feel uncomfortable because it's pretty much dominated by white people or those people in power. And so it's important for us as polys, whatever space we're in, to normalize the fact that we're brown people, we're brown, and we're gonna be thriving and excelling in these different areas, whatever area, youth justice or education or teaching.
So keep pushing the envelope.
Hard.
Be proud of who you are.
Very proud.
Can I just share something, brothers?
Yes.
So I was watching Minister Louis Farrakhan. He is a Muslim minister. He's kind of the voice of the Muslims right now. But he broke down the word racist, right, as race being the prime word, and then the ist being the suffix of someone who takes time and takes pride in their practice, in that profession. So if it was racist, it's someone who takes pride in their race, right? Someone who finds a lot of worth and belonging in that thing. Just like a violinist, just like a pianist, like an artist. These things who practice, like these people who practice those things. So with that in mind, just keeping that in mind, that I didn't think racist has the meaning that people give it, or that weight, like, oh, you're a racist now. It's not really like I'm a racist because I hate your culture. It's more like I love mine, and I love mine. I just love mine deeply, and that's what they talk about, of like loving black culture. Not that they don't like others, but they embrace theirs because they love their culture, because they come from that.
They're racist, yeah.
They're racist, they're proud, and they find strength and pride in that.
Wow.
That's so interesting.
Cool.
So we're a negative now,
Take
eh?
on it, yeah.
So
Yeah.
all racist.
Yeah. Samoa, more Samoa.
Man, that's so
Wow.
But with that,
man.
keeping
It's
that
cool.
in mind, what's some of the experiences, or some of the tools that maybe you've used, or that you'd give tips or advice or insights out to our viewers of ways that we could combat even subtle racism, racism up in your face, or even passive aggressive racism. What's some of
Or
the
even just
strategies?
those like insecurities of, like you were saying, being in a space where you might be the only brown guy,
Mm.
and no, it's not that Ino's been racist, but it's like I am out of place somewhere. Stick out like a sore thumb. What did you guys
Spot the
do? What
brownie,
did you
yeah.
do when you went into that conference? Saw you're the only brown guy, and you're like, damn. I kind of knew this was coming. It sounds like you kind of had an idea that you were gonna be more or less the only brown guy. What did you do to just overcome that?
Because I've been on a journey in terms of like embracing who I am as a person, and how I identify myself as being a brown, Pasifika, Samoan, South Aucklander, all of that, like what makes me, and being embracing that, and then and sort of understanding like the different racial dynamics, or the way we are viewed. But yeah, I've been on a journey trying to be intentional about being in different spaces where I can make connection. And so going into the conference, that particular conference, it was a training thing, that I was going to be intentional of just being me and just make conversation and to bridge that gap. There was an incident that happened a couple of weeks ago on social media. I think there was a there was a guy who owns a brewing beer company down the line. He had made a racial remark. I can't remember what it was, but people were cancelling him. Like, because it went public, people were like, oh, no one go buy beer from that guy again.
Wow.
But there's this guy, Matt Brown, I think that's his name, Matt Brown. He runs She's Not Your Rehab. What he did was he invited this guy to his space so they can have a talanoa. He goes, bro, instead of trying to cancel this guy, let's invite him so we can have dialogue.
That's mean.
Instead of
Understand him a bit
cancelling
more.
him, and I was going, oh shucks, that's mean. So yeah, I think
Because maybe he doesn't understand. Maybe
he doesn't. He was
Oblivious.
He was racist, like from people outside looking in. He was racist, and it's so easy for us to be like let's cancel, let's put him on blast, let's don't buy any products.
Wow.
And that's what was happening. But what Matt Brown, I think it's Matt Brown. Yeah, Matt Brown. What he had done was invite this guy to, hey, let's have a talanoa. I'm willing to sort of help each other understand different cultures, or sort of get your views and then help you process it and navigate the space together. So I think that you got to be humble and trying to do that, and it takes a lot of humility.
Mr. Brown is Samoan, by the way. So. So,
Jozo.
Shit.
Man, that's me.
Yeah.
How about you, Jay? How did you get on with interacting, I'm guessing, in the staff room or something with other, other white teachers and whatnot?
I'll be honest, I avoided it. Like, I just worked through my breaks.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's only coming to me now that looking back on any of my work experience or anything that I do, I think to compensate, I'm always trying to be number one in everything that I do. If I'm not number one, then I'm nothing, pretty much. And I feel like I always have this semi-combative attitude, and it's competitive, and it's because, I mean, there might be other issues there that, that are the reason why I do that, but I definitely can relate some of it to, because I'm brown, I have to prove that I'm not, I'm not the weaker end that's being dragged along, the weakest member in the circle kind of thing. So if I can prove that I'm worth something, I'm an asset to the team, then that's sort of how I counteract the perception of being judged based on skin color and all the negative connotations of being brown, because there's a lot of stereotypes and things like that. So I've only just realized that now, so I'm still processing it, but I think that's sort of where my head's been at. But yeah, typically I just remove myself from the environment. Yeah.
And that's still a way, yeah. Like, if you know that there's an uncomfortable situation or environment, man, what if you need to remove yourself from it? That's by all means all good. Yeah.
I liked what Charles was saying about being uncomfortable, because I'm definitely aware that it's not the last time I'm going to feel that way, and there's going to be times where you can't just avoid it. You have to go through it. And
That's me.
I heard this cool quote that was like, the good thing about having your back against the wall is that everything is in front of you now. And so there's still some work that I need to do in terms of like developing that mindset, but just having this conversation just makes me a little bit more hopeful about dealing with it in the future.
You know what I'm thinking about when, like, with the journey that's taking place, is that you're unlocking something, you're gonna refine it, then you're gonna take charge,
man. Run us straight.
I guess that's what it's all about. In order for us to live out our mantras, like having these continual conversations, so we can see what needs. Just like reflecting, assessing, internalizing, or whatever, and sort of refining. Like, how can we be the best versions of ourselves? And feel like mandate's being mandate.
So cool.
it's so interesting that you guys are in similar situations, but you attacked it differently, and they both work. I mean, more or less, you remove yourself, but you sort of beat them at their own game. You're like, okay, if you're not gonna, if you have to prove yourself because I'm brown and everyone else is white, okay, I'll get good grades, and I won't just do that. I'll destroy everyone else. Like, I want to be first place. You took that attitude as a defensive mechanism, which is pretty interesting. With child, you're like, I feel uncomfortable, but all good. Who cares? Just go and socialize and just go and make connections. And
the only problem with the mentality that I have is that if I'm not number one or I'm not the best, I'm just like I crumble, and I just feel like, man, something's wrong with me.
It's just like forming a new habit, eh? It's gonna be hard to begin with, and you have to get yourself out of your comfort zone. But there was a cool quote that I heard probably a month ago that's been stuck with me and really, really working within me is act as if it were impossible for you to fail. And so just no matter what you do, if you're gonna go and teach a class you've never taught a class before, it's like, bro, I can't mess up. It's impossible. Like, I got this, bro. And just having that sort of belief in yourself is like, no matter what you do, no matter who you're speaking to, it's like, it's easy. Like, so just act as if it were impossible for you to fail, and you'll thrive. You'll do about as good as you possibly could. And that's all you can ask for, really, is your best effort. If you fall short, so be it. But
that's all right.
So it's weird. I feel like the apology from the government and from Jacinda Adern is timely. I think it's something that, at least for now, that I would probably, it'd actually do a lot of good that you wouldn't be able to really, I don't know how you'd be able to see the numbers and the stats of how it's affecting people well, but I do feel like there's a lot of anger and hurt and distrust from polys with the government. So this will start healing, that healing process. People can really start just moving on, trying to move on with their lives.
So cool.
Nice job,
That's so cool. I think the beauty of it, just the discussion tonight, the beauty of what you said, Charles, that we as Pacific Polynesians, but also as New Zealanders, we have this ability to walk in these two worlds. I love that. I love the fact, because I didn't want to bring it up, but I thought, man, just say it. Just even racism in the church, and so like I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it happen to me. I think one time I was in a conference, and I was only brown speaker. Most times I'm mostly the brown speaker, and I remember at the time when we were praying, and then I had to speak, and I was like, all right, cool. So we're at the back, and they're praying. Let's pray. And let's pray again. And they were praying for me. Let's pray for your people. Can we pray for your people, Patia? I'm like, how does that work? What do you mean? Pray for your people. And so okay, sweet. And at the time, I was taken aback. I was like, what does that mean? Pray for my people. They thought I was Māori. I was like, I'm Sam. I was like, wow. I was like, okay, sweet. Pray for my people. And there's one incident, pray for my people. And then they say, you can't do the altar call because someone else do it. And then after I preach it, I can't do the altar call. Just noticing that, even to the point of my, what's your name, Peter? Peter Wilson. I walk out the stage. It's a brown person, Peter Wilson. And so I've seen it, and I've seen it even to the point, I don't know, because I've raised up in some of the fundamentalist Baptist churches, and I don't know if it's racism or whether it's ignorance, and even to the point where they try to, and all due respect, if people who are watching this who know me, I don't know if it just felt like it was just kind of like they're trying to conform us to be. Not even like, obviously followers of God, but it was kind of conforming us to be someone that we're not, and it was kind of like to the point, trying to be like Americanize us or something, all that kind of stuff. Like it just didn't fit. And so,
what do you mean, like taking us away from like our sort of culture? No.
Like sometimes our culture wasn't good enough, or it didn't seem good enough, or it didn't seem like it was the right thing to do. If you try to incorporate your culture, it's not really, doesn't really fit. It doesn't fit into our thing here. So maybe not, but we'll just throw in some Thanksgiving here for you guys, and it's like, we don't do that here. So all that kind of stuff. And so, I may be putting my neck out there, and people may be watching this. Some of my good mates and friends, like, but the truth is, And I think, and even there was a point where I was sitting, and I had to do a painting. And I was sitting there, and it was especially reserved for all the speakers and all the big speakers, the big wigs, and okay, so I was sitting there because I was getting ready to do this big chalk art. Sat there, and one of the people came who was another keynote speaker, but he was one of the guys who was so-called leaders in there. Saw me sitting there, he goes, "Oh, excuse me, I think you might be in the wrong seat." He goes, "Oh no, I'm here. I think you're in the wrong seat." But I was like, "Oh," and in my mind, like passive aggressive, like, "Bro, I'm gonna do something," but no, just leave it and just okay, just sat there. Okay, so he looked at me with his wife. He was there with his wife. He looked at me. Oh. So they sat next to me. He was looking at me like that. I was like, "Oh, I'm in the wrong seat." He's like, "Okay," so just. And they, "Oh, Pete Wilson, man, message you come and do a painting." So you got a shop and I did the painting. He goes, "Oh, so here's in the right seat." And so, so I finished the painting, and these pastors go, "Oh, come up to the, we're gonna have dinner, we're gonna talk and just all this nice dinner and all this kind of stuff." I said, "Okay, sweet." So I go in there, we walk in, my wife and I, we walk in there, and the guy who said, "Oh, you're in the wrong seat," was in the elevator. We were in the elevator, and he looked at, "Oh man, awesome brother, awesome bro." That's what he was. I thought to myself, man, you would be saying that if I was in the wrong seat, you would be like, "What are you doing? Get out." And so, because I was part of the program, I'm like, "Oh, awesome, bro. Awesome, man. That's so cool." And so, it's those things, you're right. And like you're saying, Jay, you just feel like you want to, but then you kind of second guess yourself. Is it racism or is it just ignorance? Or is it my insecurities as to why? Is it because I did something? And so,
He would have apologized if he.
He didn't apologize. He said, "Oh, awesome, bro."
That's probably his way of covering up.
brushing over it.
Yeah,
He really should have though.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just those things, and I think, and so when I'm in those places, I'm speaking or whatever, and painting, whatever. For me, I feel like, you know what, and in the back of my head, I'm always thinking, praise God, yeah, I'm able to, have the opportunity to do this stuff and be there, and even if I'm the only brown speaker, I feel like, I carry my people. I feel like I carry on the torch for my people, the mentor for my people. I just go there and say, you know what, I just, wherever I am, so, you know, just carry it. Who cares if it's if you're the only islander there? Just represent. Nice. You have to represent, otherwise, And so, yeah, for me, that's how I deal with it. I feel like it's got nothing to do with pride, but I think, you know, just like you're saying. If we take the actual meaning racist, is that I'm a proud person, I'm a proud islander. So hopefully that other islanders will be like, "Oh, sweet, if he's up there, sweet, we can go up there and do whatever, preach or whatever, and all that kind of stuff." So
that's me.
And so it's all about, but also you want to be humble, but just be proud of who we represent as people. Cool. Yeah.
Represent.
Totally feel on that, man.
But yeah, just represent. I mean, that's the best thing to do. Just represent and just say, hey, like you're saying, Jay, these guys, oh man, they can, these guys can do it. Then let's do it. We can do it. There's so much talent, so much awesomeness in our people.
Going back to how you're saying about poly spearheading, you know, there's a million different fields of work or industries and stuff. We need like our poly men and women to really start that chain, bro. Start that chain reaction. So one person, I mean, look at these inspirational men behind us. Ones who have given their lives in that. They decided to be the one that would stand up and start that. And so this is the time, man. This is the time while the government's on its knees.
It's funny though, because like the experience did make me think like the guy who had mentioned that you were in the wrong seat. Even though you moved on and you did things well, even if you'd heard an apology, it would have helped. At least if it was me in that position, it would have helped me know that he acknowledged his error and that he'll probably be more mindful of that in future. And so in terms of the apology from Jacinda Adern, and obviously I'm the least qualified to talk about it, but the apology it's not an end, it's just the beginning. I think it just made me think like this is just the start of acknowledging the mistake, but more importantly, like how are you going to be more mindful of, because their issue, like even though they're apologizing for the event, but the issues that are there at the core of it are still relevant. So it's like the apology is nice to acknowledge it, but like what happens going, what are you going to change?
What systemic changes will take place? Because the systems are still going to be the same. So the fight is at a systemic level, guys. What Betia experienced at the churches is everywhere. Institutional racism or systemic racism. And people trying to mold us to express a certain faith or way, a westernized way. That's what it is. And so how can we sort of be in spaces where, this is the way we worship as Pasifika people, indigenous people. And things got to change, but it's going to start with us, like, really being that spearhead and fighting against certain levels and places, so we're not still at being the people at the bottom.
I'm with that also. Like, man, just like starting the conversation. I love the term, starting the conversation, because it's becoming the new norm to stand up for something, and I feel like this Generation Z, pros and cons, but I feel like one of their pros is that they speak up, and they band together to actually voice what's happening in their generation, and I think I'm just on that Kaupapa of like holistic view of systemic oppression, systemic racism, and what moves can we make? Like, would we ever see a Polynesian Prime Minister in New Zealand? One day,
Or Māori
Prime Minister, man,
long overdue.
And just these type of like questions and just possibilities, starting it so that there's someone out there that might get that plead, that seed planted, that plead planted, that seed planted, and that was their calling to become that the first person to do that at that type of scale, and that'll be my encouragement for anyone experiencing racism at any level. Is just what all the boys were saying: represent, be proud of who you are, represent, and start awkward conversations, and don't be afraid to set boundaries and confront them, face to face, in private, respectfully, but attacking, if you hear something that didn't sit well with you, just be respectful about it and say, oh, what did you mean by that? Oh, what was that joke that you made? Like, what were you insinuating? State us right now. on site there. But yeah, just starting new conversations so that we're just making small progress, and Jacinda's apology is the start to a new conversation, of healing, of generational cycles being broken, and reparation. #reparation. That's the episode of this. That's the name of this episode. Reparation
And money.
I remember, we live in a democracy. Like, if enough voices are saying the same thing, people listen. I mean, that's just, and then that's how changes are enforced. But so if there's something that a huge injustice or something that happens, share it. I mean, get people to what are they called? Petitions. Yeah. But we live in a democracy. This is the time to be speaking out. It's ideal to be speaking up and speaking out about things, and banding together. I don't.
Yeah.
Reparations.
Just do it.
That's a reparation.
That's a rap.
Reparation.
So I'm going to share my card, and then I'm going to my final thoughts. So my card says, what is stopping you?
What is stopping you, Charles?
That's
I should have said final thoughts first. Yeah. Go final thoughts first, and then my card. So my final thoughts for tonight. I'm sort of encouraged by this conversation. Just sort of having this conversation around racism and how it affects us, and looking at our people sort of just normalizing that conversation, so people sort of aware, and then just know that
we're all at different stages, and the last, like my heart out of tonight's convo is like, let's empower others so we're not feeling inferior, that we're not feeling we have to sort of just let things slide. That we're the head, not the tail. They were made to be in these spaces, and I'm taking my whole team with me.
Let's go.
So that's my final thoughts.
That's
I'm
my
encouraged to
team.
sort of learn more and be able to articulate myself better. So I can be in these spaces. And what is stopping me? Well, me, my own insecurities around it. I'm not articulate enough to, speak these things, but I think, what's stopping me is myself. So just trying to get myself out of like self-doubt and have more positive thinking, and surrounding myself with amazing men like you, and just to push each other to unlock, refine, take charge.
What was your one? Emotions. Alright, I'll start with my card. Values. Deep speak. If you had a magic wand and could change something about the world, what would it be? Wow. Local or the world? Local way.
No.
South Auckland is my world. Damn. Change the world, what would it be? I'll just keep this light but funny. If it was reversed and the inferior was Palangi and the superior of the system was melanin, black. Right, just to see what it would be like, just to flip it on the head, even if it was just for a day.
For a day, live
For a
and see
day.
what it's
And just see.
it's like.
But what would it be like if, like, we still had our own values, but we just exercised it in a way that we, we're in charge of governance and
Systems
what to call that? Sovereignty. Yeah. Treaty of Waitangi.
That'd be a mean movie. That's a movie idea.
Yo. Yeah.
Freaky Friday.
Director and writer right here. But yeah, that's that. My final thoughts is keep creating the new narrative. Going off what Charles was saying is that just keep pushing those conversations, but believe in it. If you believe that you're the stereotype, man, you're gonna keep acting like the stereotype, being a victim to your life, not being the creator and Victorian of your life. Credit to Alistair. Also, be the Victorian over the victim, and keep believing that you can change your circumstances with the power that you do have. Take care of your mind. Mind will take care of your body, and those two together take care of your soul. Amen. Amen.
Nice.
Shout out Zoe.
Yep, mine was
Betty.
deep speak beliefs. My one is: have you ever had something you would call a spiritual experience?
Ooh.
I think right now I'm still experiencing the spiritual journey. I think in terms of experiences, just really taking me on a totally different journey. In terms of knowing who God is, and actually just knowing Him for myself without being having other people's people telling this is God or whatever. My experience has taken me to a whole new journey, and it's what would I call it? A spiritual experience. All I can say is that it's just ongoing journey, and it's been it's a hard journey, but it's a well worth journey with my family. So that I'm still undergoing or still going. And tonight, the kōrero boys or men, just real powerful. I think for myself, what my takeaway is this: is that at the end of the day, people are still people, and people who outwardly show racism or bigotry or hate, it's been taught to them. And so, but the thing is, there's a lot of issues, a lot of underlying issues, and what I take from tonight is that regardless of the racism or the hate, it doesn't excuse us in terms of responding in a way that it's going to be detrimental for us as people, but also as men. And from the famous words of Tupua Tamasese, let peace be maintained at any cost. And so whatever experience that we've had or might have in the future, let peace be maintained. It's how we respond and how we react to what they say. And I tell you, it's when we respond the way that we should, in humility and with mana and with pride, maybe that kōrero, maybe that change is going to happen. Maybe they'll see, they're not that person, or they're not who I was said that they are. And so with that, brothers, continue to be proud of who we are and continue that journey. That's me.
Maybe I'll start with my takeaway for tonight. I think it was just enlightenment to the history, but also to recognize the signs. If we, I think for myself it was just inspiring to have this discussion, to learn these things, but also I feel like this is day one for me in terms of better understanding this sort of thing around the topic and being more deliberate in the way that I operate in response to things like racism. For me, it was just awesome to take it in and to be able to speak openly about my uncertainty around the topic, but also to gather this knowledge from you guys. So really grateful and excited to keep moving forward. My card says, in what ways are you creative?
Plenty.
I consider this a creative output. I love writing. And sadly, I feel like a lot of my creative outputs over the years have been diminished because I've put on a lens that, creative works, they aren't going to help me thrive in the world that I felt like I was on my knees in. So I feel like this year it's been good to rediscover things like creative writing, with my brother, creative speaking through this format, and finding strength in all these different creative outputs, but being able to pull them into the main path that I'm walking in terms of my education. I feel like it definitely makes me unique in that regard. So that's me.
Cool.
Last one. This is relationships. I'll do that last. Takeaways from today. Mean learning. I learned a little bit about it, but hearing input from you guys and some of the backstories and some of the people was pretty mind blowing, and just reminds me like, man, this needs to be taught in school. Like seriously, someone should really start a petition to get this as part of the curriculum, because like we learn about all this other stuff that we have no use for in the future, but stuff like this, I think it's important to our country, and just so that we never go back down that road again. But yeah, there were heaps of takeaways. Big one for me was what you were saying, Charles. Just getting people in different industries spearheading, like leading, normalizing the fact that there's brown people at the top of all these different industries or whatever field you're in. Even if you're just one of the workers at some school, still try and find a way to do you and to still just be yourself. Be an example to those around you. But yeah, massive, man. That's massive. Let me read this. What responsibilities come with having sex? What? Are you serious, man?
The prescription for later on tonight.
What responsibilities come with having sex?
Did you know you had responsibility?
Nah.
Earning.
What?
Okay.
Probably I don't know. I think obviously the biggest one is probably being married. I mean, doing it within the bonds, the holy bonds of matrimony. I think.
Tell us about before marriage, though.
Man, there's just too many.
Irresponsible, man. Irresponsible.
If possible, if you can abstain until marriage, then definitely do. I highly recommend that. Honestly, if I could go back and change it, that would be probably the one thing I would change in my life. Like, as I would, if possible, without changing everything that's happened. But is to really abstain from having any sort of sexual relationship with anybody until I got married. Because I wish that was the case, but
Sorry.
I know as soon as it's about talking about sex, man, of men.
And that's how racism. Episode 49.
Thanks for getting into our next episode.
First, that's the cards, bro. That is the segue. That's our
Segue into the
segue
next one.
into the relationship with yourself
Oh man.
and toxic relationships. Toxic relationships with yourself. Alright.
You're responsible.
Alright. Cool. Shaw fam, thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed that talanoa.
If you like this video, please drop a like, a comment down below, and share it with all your friends.
And as usual,
Refine, unlock,
Take
charge.
Mandate.